Anxiety kept your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestors. That's not a comforting metaphor. That's the actual mechanism. And understanding it changes what that racing heart is trying to tell you. Before we begin, understand that why good anxiety matters? 3 very important points to know. 1, anxiety is a natural emotion. It evolved to keep us safe, urging us to act in uncertain situations. 2, neuroplasticity practices like exercise and mindfulness can harness anxiety. 3, protective nature. Anxiety is a natural human emotion designed to keep us safe, and when understood properly, it can be transformed into a source of strength. These points highlight the importance of understanding and managing anxiety as a superpower rather than an obstacle. By recognizing its protective role and harnessing it through neuroplasticity and mindfulness, individuals can transform anxiety into a tool for growth and effectiveness. This is what you'll walk away with. Not just stop worrying, but the real evolutionary function anxiety was built for. And the one distinction that tells you when it's working correctly versus when it's worth getting real support for. Start with a psychiatrist named Randolph Nessa, one of the founders of a field called evolutionary psychiatry. He proposed something now called the smoke detector principle, and it explains almost everything about why anxiety feels the way it does. A smoke detector that misses one real fire is a catastrophe. A smoke detector that gives 100 false alarms for burnt toast is just annoying. Because the cost of those 2 mistakes is wildly unequal, a well-calibrated smoke detector should trigger constantly, way more often than there's an actual fire. Your anxiety system was shaped by the exact same math. A missed real threat, a predator, a hostile stranger, a genuinely dangerous situation could end your ancestors' entire genetic line on the spot. A false alarm, feeling anxious about a rustling bush that turned out to be wind, cost almost nothing. So, evolution built a threat detection system that fires early and often because being wrong in that direction was nearly free. And being wrong in the other direction was fatal, lest get deeper. This is the part worth actually using. Your anxiety isn't miscalibrated because it's too sensitive. It's doing exactly what a cheap, over-triggering smoke detector is supposed to do. The uncomfortable feeling before a presentation, the racing thoughts before a hard conversation, that's the system correctly flagging something as worth your attention, even if the actual danger is nowhere near as high as it feels. A neuroscientist named Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping exactly how this system works in the brain, tracing fear and anxiety responses to the amygdala, a small structure that can trigger a full-body alert before your conscious mind even finishes processing what it saw. Ledoux's research showed this pathway is fast, specifically because slow was dangerous. An ancestor who consciously reasoned through whether that shape in the grass was a threat, instead of reacting first, lost the evolutionary bet more often than one whose body moved before the thought finished forming. That speed is the actual superpower part, and it's worth naming directly. Anxiety, at a functional level, is a heightened vigilant state that sharpens attention, primes your body for fast action, and makes you notice small details you'd otherwise miss. Athletes call a version of this being locked in. Performers call it useful nervous energy. The physiology underneath both is largely the same system Nessa and Ledoux were describing, just operating at an intensity that's actually proportional to the moment. Here's the distinction that actually matters, and it's the part most reframes like this skip entirely. A smoke detector that goes off appropriately and quiets back down once the toast stops burning is doing its job well. A smoke detector that won't stop screaming long after the toast is gone, that goes off constantly with no clear trigger at all, or that's so loud you can't function in your own kitchen, isn't a well-calibrated ancient system anymore. That's a system that's stuck And being stuck is a real, treatable problem, not a personal failure and not something to just reframe your way out of. If your anxiety consistently shows up disproportionate to the actual moment, doesn't settle once the moment passes, or is interfering with sleep, relationships, or daily functioning, that's worth bringing to a doctor or therapist. The same way you'd get a smoke detector that won't stop blaring professionally checked, rather than just learning to live with the noise. For everyday anxiety that does settle once the moment passes, though, the reframe genuinely helps. That pre-presentation dread isn't a sign something's wrong with you. It's the same ancient vigilance system your ancestors needed to notice danger fast, now firing for a boardroom instead of a predator, at a volume that was tuned for stakes much higher than a slide deck. Anxiety kept your ancestors alive, long enough to become your ancestors. It's a fact. The system isn't broken. It's just doing 300,000-year-old work in a world that mostly stopped needing it to work this hard. And knowing that difference is the whole point.